The theme of the week has been build. Can the Raiders build off the success they had versus Tennessee and let that roll over to this week's game versus Kansas City? We'll talk about how and who can help them do that on today's edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast for Friday, October 17th, 2025.
You are Locked On Raiders, your daily Las Vegas Raiders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome in, Raider Nation, into another edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast. Thank you so much for making the show your first listen of the day. Definitely appreciate you. If you're catching the show wherever you find your favorite podcast, or you're checking us out by way of the YouTube page, you know we appreciate both. Show grows each and every day because of your support and the great job that my man Ari does behind the scenes, making sure we look good and sound good each and every day. So we shout him out. We appreciate him. He's on Twitter at Ari Produces. You can hit me up as well at your boy Q254. And if you want to be a part of the show, we got the Locked On Raider podcast voicemail line for you. 707-654-4693. We'll close out the show hearing from you. Didn't have any calls or texts on Thursday's show. That was crossover Thursday. So we talked about storylines. We talked about matchups and keys to victory. We did that with Chris Clark and Ryan Tracy from Locked On Chiefs. But we get back to hearing from you. So segment number 3, we close things out. Your calls, your texts. Segment number 2, I like to give my breakdown, my keys to victory, offense, defense, special teams, and coaching. What do I think is going to get it done on Sunday? I'll do that in segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Here in segment number 1, news and notes of the day. And we'll start out with the injury report. We'll just jump right into it. Brock Bowers, for the second day in a row, did not participate. He's been dealing with that knee injury. So Wednesday and Thursday, DNP. As far as I'm concerned, he's not going to play coming up on Sunday. And probably the earliest that you'll see Brock Bowers back in action is once the Raiders come out of their bye week and they're taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars at Allegiant Stadium. That's just my gut feeling. That's not me reporting that. I just don't see him going anytime soon. I think that they want to make sure he's 100% healthy before he goes. Running back Dylan Laube, dealing with a hamstring injury, did not participate on Wednesday, was limited in Thursday. That's significant because of special teams. He's a guy that's not only a kick returner and possible punt returner, he's also a guy who's a gunner. He's a guy that gets out there on kick coverage. And we know the Raiders' kick coverage was better last week, better than it has been, but Dylan Laube is a big reason for that. So his hamstring injury, we'll see if he's able to go on Sunday, but that could be a significant injury for this team moving forward. Wide receiver Jakobi Meyers, a knee and a toe injury. He injured himself late in the game against Tennessee on Sunday, DNP on Wednesday, DNP on Thursday. And Chip Kelly, when we met with him at the facility, actually thought that Jakobi was going to go on Thursday. And so when he didn't, that really caught our attention. Now, I know there's a lot of conversation, a lot of speculation around Jakobi. I did see him at the facility. He was, dressed in just kind of not street clothes, but just shorts and, a Raider hoodie and watching the team from the sideline while they were practicing, but was not able to go. So that's obviously something to pay attention to. If he can't go on Sunday, then you're going to see a lot of Jack Besh, and you're going to see a lot of Dante Thornton Jr. as well. So 2 rookies out there going to be expected to do a lot of the heavy lifting. So that's a significant injury to pay attention to. Again, we'll get another injury report later on this afternoon, and 90 minutes before kickoff on Sunday, we'll find out who's inactive. Also, wide receiver Alex Bachman dealing with the ankle injury, not listed on Wednesday, limited on Thursday. He's significant because, well, just like Dylan Laube, he's really good at special teams, and you saw what he was able to do in the return game on Sunday versus Tennessee. So if he can't go, that's another blow to special teams. And then wide receiver Justice Shorter, illness, not listed on Wednesday, did not participate on Thursday. So some pretty significant injuries. Again, Brock Bowers, I expect him to be out. Laube we'll have to pay attention to. Jakobi looks like he's trending to being out, which is not good. And Bachman could be a big blow for the return game for the Raiders. For the Chiefs, everything's pretty clean. They have a lot of guys listed on their injury report, but everybody was a full participant on Thursday. Brashard Smith, their running back, Hollywood Brown, their wide receiver, Charles Omenihu, their defensive end, Nico Remigio, their wide receiver, Jawan Taylor, their tackle, Xavier Worthy, their wide receiver, Rashee Rice, their wide receiver, and Jerry Tillery, defensive lineman. All full. They're all dealing with different injuries, but they were all full participants, so I feel like they'll all go coming up on Sunday. The one guy to pay attention to, tackle Josh Simmons. He did not play last Sunday due to personal issues. Apparently, he's in California dealing with some kind of situation with the family. I don't know what that is, but he did not participate on Wednesday or Thursday. Most folks believe he will not go on Sunday, and Jalen Moore, who stepped in for Simmons last week, will be the guy at the left tackle position. So that's definitely something to pay attention to. That's the first-round pick for Kansas City, the guy that's protecting Patrick Mahomes and his blind side. Now, before we get to segment number 2 and get to keys to victory, I did want you to hear a little bit from head coach Pete Carroll, building on the success from last week, and Caillou Blue Kelly. Obviously, building on the success has been something we've talked about all week long, ever since the Raiders beat Tennessee at Allegiant Stadium on Sunday. So I wanted to make sure I got a chance to ask him that question when we met with them on Wednesday at the facility.
What's the keys to the success, building off the success you had last week and taking it to this week?
Yeah, it's really important that we play well in all 3 phases. Like we've been talking about, we've got to find the balance, but one phase of it doesn't hold us back in some way. So we had a tremendous game on special teams last week, which was really important after what we've been through. Defense did a great job, and offense did what we needed to get it done to win a football game. We were ahead, we got to play with the lead, and we were able to hang on to that. So it's much like I talked about Andy's teams. You got to have really all completely balanced approach, or you're just going to win sometimes and not other times. So that's what we're shooting for.
What did you see from Caillou Blue Kelly, who had struggled a couple games but looked like he really bounced back last week?
He had a terrific game last week. He did, and that's if they go after you, they're going to get you. And once in a while, and he's been had a couple times, but all plays that he couldn't, he would have played a little bit differently if he had another chance at him. Give him more chances, I think he's going to continue to grow. The thing that Caillou brings is his physicality. His tackling was really outstanding. His play on the perimeter and his containment, other things than what you normally look for in a corner. Like he's just a press guy or he's a cover guy. He's a more complete football player than that, and it shows. And it showed last week. And I thought Pat did a really nice job of game planning and making sure that he was in great positions, and he answered the call really well.
I thought those 2 questions to Pete Carroll were significant, especially with Caillou Blue Kelly, because he had been struggling. He's a guy that I thought Darian Porter was going to take his spot once Eric Stokes came back, but Caillou's more physical than Darian Porter is at this stage of the game. And you saw Caillou get through a lot of those wide receiver screens. He was able to get through the blocking and get to the wide receiver, or at least hold up the wide receiver and hold up the blocking to allow his partners to come and make the tackle, make the play. So they weren't able to get that wide receiver screen. He's a very physical dude. I think that physicality is going to be needed in this game coming up on Sunday. So, you hear what Pete Carroll had to say about Caillou, and also just building on the success and how that's really what they're working on. And then also I want you to hear from the quarterback, Geno Smith. We actually got the chance to catch up with him on Wednesday as well. And just a couple of the different questions I asked him, and then even a question that Vinny Bonsignore threw at him, but really just being careful and aggressive. There's a fine line, right? How does he navigate that? The vibe of the locker room, because there's so many different reports out there, and I like you to hear from the player. And then Vinny asked about just the long season and knowing that they're not out of it. So here's Geno Smith with a little chunk of what he had to say from his presser on Wednesday.
You talk about efficiency with the ball all the time. What's the fine line between, kind of being careful and aggressive at the same time?
Yeah, I think it's just making decisions like in the right timing of the play, and I think a lot of repetition is what, will help that. But overall, you want to be efficient. You also don't want to just check it down all game. You want to take what they're giving you and take your shots when you can. And, again, those things are – every game's different. Every situation is different. There's a lot to think about in each situation. So I think overall, you want to have both. You want to be aggressive. You want to, have explosive plays, but you also want to be very efficient.
How difficult is that to kind of go that fine line, I guess?
It's extremely difficult because, the opposing defenses that we're going to face, they're all going to be really good. And so they know what we're trying to get accomplished, and their job is to stop it. And so there's always this chess match going back and forth with, our coordinator, their coordinator, me against the Mike linebacker. So there's just like a lot of different things that go into it. But like overall, you just want to complete passes, and that's the real thing. You just want to complete passes and move the chains 10 yards at a time, and then all those other things will come along.
What's been the kind of the vibe of the locker room? Obviously, the season didn't get off to the start you guys wanted to, but you're still in the thick of things.
Yeah.
What has it been like with you and your teammates?
Working hard. Everybody's upbeat. We got great leadership. Again, we didn't start the way we'd like to. I think, a couple of plays here and there, and we may be talking about it different, but that's not the reality. So our guys are just focused on getting better every single day. Looking forward to competition Wednesday today, competing against the defense and, seeing who can win the battle today, and then we'll move forward the next day. But overall, man, great leadership. The locker room's upbeat. Guys are focused on, what's ahead and really trying to get the season turned around.
And this isn't your first rodeo, so you know how long an NFL season is. Does that give you a little bit more perspective on, hey, it's not the world's not over?
Last year we were 4-5 at the bye, and we won 10 games. I think we missed the playoffs by like a fifth tiebreaker. it's never over. It's the NFL, and again, it's the key is to develop and get better throughout the season. I know, like, again, I'll talk about the process, and I know everyone's so fixated on just the results, and that's kind of like the simplest way to look at things. But there's a whole process that goes into this, and we got, like I said, we got a lot of young players and a lot of guys playing together for the first time. So there's a development learning curve for all of us, and so we're just getting through that. And each week we've gotten better, and I think, you know, as we go on, we'll continue to do that if we take the right approach.
Thought that was significant to pass along. Again, I just wanted to go ahead and, highlight some of the questions that I asked, and then I thought that question that Vinny asked was really good and significant at the end as well, knowing the mindset of the players. Like, we can all look at it and say, oh, the sky is falling, it's doom and gloom, they're 2-4, oh no, it's over, go sell the farm, start thinking about the draft, fire the coaches, all that good stuff. But that's not how they think. So I thought that was very significant to bring that to the table as well. So what are they going to have to do to go from 2-4 to 3-4 into the bye and have a 2-game winning streak? We'll talk about that coming up in segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Before we get to that, though, I do want to tell you about a couple great sponsors that we have here on the show, and the first one is Betterhelp. As a matter of fact, this show is sponsored by Betterhelp. October 10th, that was World Mental Health Day, and this year we're saying thank you, therapists. Life can be tough on and off the field, and behind millions of mental health journeys and therapists who showed up, listen, and help people take a step forward. BetterHelp is shining the spotlight on those connections while also making it simple for you to find support whenever you need it. Therapy moments can be life-changing, whether it's learning to get better connect with your kids, healing a relationship, or finding healthy ways to manage stress. BetterHelp can help you. If you ever thought about trying therapy, this is the perfect reminder that help is out there, and the right therapist can make all the difference. This World Mental Health Day, join us celebrating the therapists who help millions take a step forward. If you're ready to start your own journey, BetterHelp can help you find the right therapist. All listeners of the Locked On Raiders podcast get 10% off their first month at BetterHelp.com/LockedOn. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOn. Again, October 10th, that was World Mental Health Day. We continue to celebrate it even today. BetterHelp.com/LockedOn. I also want to tell you about PrizePicks. Every day we make decisions, but on PrizePicks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss the excitement of the football season with PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. Playing PrizePicks is such a fun, simple way to add more excitement to football. You just pick more or less on player projections, like maybe Josh Allen's passing yards or Saquon Barkley's rushing for a touchdown. Either way, you're in the game. PrizePicks, they just added stacks, so if you want to ride with the player, you can select their passing yards, rushing yards, touchdowns, whatever the case may be, all in one lineup. It's so much fun to follow other players in the app and copy their lineups with just one click. Right now, what you need to do is download the PrizePicks app today. Use the promo code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL, all one word, for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. All right, Raider Nation, here we go. Segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Want to jump into keys to victory. I do it every time we have the last show before a game. Obviously, the game's coming up on Sunday, 10 a.m. Pacific time from Kansas City. So I want to give you defense, offense, special teams, coaching in that order when it comes to keys to the victory. I want to start off with defense today because I think that that's going to be the biggest key. When the Raiders go in there and defeat Kansas City or play them close, it's normally because the defense is hanging with them and making life very difficult for Kansas City to score. So I'm going to start with the defense on today. Physicality is a must. The corners, they're going to need to be physical with wide receivers. You got Rashee Rice coming back, Xavier Worthy. Those guys are speed on top of speed. Got to be physical with those guys. If you don't want those fast guys to run past you, you know what you got to do? You got to put hands on them. You got to slow them down. You got to make it difficult for them to get started. I think physicality is going to be major. That's why I mentioned Caillou Blue Kelly in the first segment. That's why I asked Pete Carroll about Caillou Blue Kelly, because I was anticipating this game and anticipating that speed, and he does have that physicality where Darian Porter is not quite there yet. At Iowa State, he was really good at zone coverage. Wasn't that great when it came to man-to-man, but again, Iowa State, that's what they do. So he's getting acclimated to the NFL and the physicality, and Caillou Blue Kelly, I think, fits that better. There's things that Darian Porter does better than Kelly, but being physical at the line of scrimmage is not one. The linebackers, they got to be physical with Kelsey. He always gets a free release off the line, right? And I know that, it might be an area that Jamal Adams, maybe he attacks him that way and it gets physical with them. I know Jamal Adams could be a liability in coverage, right? I mean, typically the way that Travis Kelce lines up and the way that he releases from the line of scrimmage, Normally, you'll have like an edge that is getting physical with them, but you don't want to take Kuntz away from the play. You don't want to take Tyree away from the play. You don't want to take Max away from the play to put hands on Kelsey. So a lot of times he gets that free release. This may be a game where Patrick Graham says, you know what, Jamal Adams is going to be my X factor. I need him to get physical with Travis Kelsey. It's way too many times he releases off the line of scrimmage, turns 5 yards later, boom, makes himself available, and an easy catch. And then he does his magic afterwards. The defensive tackles, they must push the pocket. That's a must in all caps. If I'm sending you a text, it's in all caps. That means you know I'm screaming at you. Must push the pocket. Mahomes loves to escape up the gut. Obviously, quarterbacks like to step up in the pocket anyway, but he loves to escape the pocket and run and pick up first downs or get on a scramble drill and then throw the ball right before he hits the line of scrimmage and, hit a wide receiver deep. So the defensive tackles, Adam Butler, Jonah Laulu, who's leading the team in sacks with 4, those guys are going to really have to be on their A game on Sunday, I should say, going up against Patrick Mahomes. Matter of fact, when we talked to Patrick Graham on Thursday, I asked him about the defensive tackles, and then he responds to Vinny about Jonah Laulu. So it all comes together here. Check it out. Here's Patrick Graham.
The interior of the defensive line is always important, but Mahomes likes to escape up the gut a lot. So how much more emphasis will have to be on that position?
A lot. It takes a full group, not even just the 11 on the field. It takes, the guys on the sideline seeing what they're seeing when they sub in. But the interior part, any elite quarterback, they could care less about edge rush. Like if you, I'm talking about poor edge rush when it's just running past them. They just step up in the pocket. I learned that quick when I transitioned from college to the pros, and you're watching Peyton Manning and Tom and those guys maneuver in the pocket. Any quarterback in this league, you got to affect them through the middle, and we got some guys that are stout in there for the run game. They have some quickness to be able to get on edges. We're just trying to get to that spot to make them uncomfortable. But that's most elite quarterbacks in the league. They're not looking to go out the back of the pocket. That's where the monsters are. I mean, I wouldn't go back there. If they're running 4.6s and they're 260 pounds and 6'5", I mean, you go back there if you want to. I mean, that's not – I'm sure the ownership doesn't want them doing that.
When you see a guy like Jonah Lau, who kind of came here a little humbled, not making the team with the Colts and, keeping at it and working at it, how satisfying is that to see that progress?
I couldn't be happier with where Jonah is right now. We had him in the pro day, the local pro day, him being a local guy. We were impressed with him then. The Colts drafted him. Then when they cut him, we got a chance to get him. I mean, he did on that pro day without pads on, obviously. He displayed the athleticism, the work ethic, everything that you want from a young defensive lineman. Good knee bend, played with his hands, had to clean up a few things, but it was a good project to want to work with. Then when he got here, he was quiet at first, but you could see all the flashes and just say, sometimes, like with Robbie and his group, just instilling some confidence in him to make sure he understands that, like, you could be a guy. You could be a guy. You have all the tools. And then, like I've always said, these young players, they got to make a decision because you really don't have anything else to do. It's not college. You don't have class. You don't have anything else to do, so you got to make a decision. How far do I want to take this professional football player thing? And you got to make a decision how much you're going to commit to it. Thankfully, he has the skill set, and he just works really, really hard, and he's not satisfied. So, I mean, it's one of those stories that you're like, we'll see where it goes from here, but you're very happy with the progress right now.
So PG's talking about all the elite, quarterbacks don't want to go to the edges. They want to step up in the pocket. They want to, go up the gut. They want to avoid the big hit. They don't, their owners don't want them to get hit, all that good stuff. But in reality, you see Patrick Mahomes escape up the middle so many times. So that's why, and look, that's the reason why the Raiders went out and made the move for Christian Wilkins, not just necessarily for Patrick Mahomes, but just so they can have that presence in the middle, that dude that can push the pocket, collapse the pocket, right? Stop the run and get after the quarterback. So that's going to have to be Jonah Laulu. It's going to have to be Adam Butler. Those two guys are really going to have to work hard, and you hear how happy Patrick Graham is with the way that Jonah Laulu is continuing to evolve as a defensive tackle. Offensively, I think this is the Ashton Genty game. I think this is the Ashton Genty 100-yard-plus game. I think the running back room in general is going to be very important. Genty and Mostert, I think they're going to really need to be a dominant force. I know that some are talking about the Chiefs and their run defense is good. I don't think it really is. I think the Raiders could test it, right? And I know everyone's saying, oh, well, their numbers are kind of skewed this. That look, man, I sold Kirby's. I sold $2,000 vacuums. I know you can make the numbers look however you want. My own naked eyes have told me that the Chiefs Where their liability is defensively is stopping the run. And I think that the Raiders can take advantage. Obviously, the offensive line is going to have to do their job, but I see Ashton Genty and Raheem Mostert continuing to get better and better each and every week as a unit, as a 1-2 punch. So I think that this is going to be a game where you really need them to be that guy. And Geno needs to be efficient, right? Not reckless. Something that I talked about, again, anticipating this game on Sunday, talked about that with him on Wednesday. You know, you don't have to be reckless, but you need to be efficient. You don't have to be Superman, right? You just got to be smart with the ball. You know, you can't just check it down all game long. But you got to take what's there, but you also have to, you know, when the opportunity is there to get a bigger play, you got to go for it, right? And it's funny, I heard Vinny Bonsignore and Vince Sapienza on the morning tailgate on Thursday talking about Geno's got to put on the cape and be the Superman. I'm thinking that's the last thing you want him thinking he has to do, right? Because when he thinks that he has to do everything, that's when he makes mistakes. So I just think that he needs to go into this game thinking that I'm just a piece of the puzzle. And really they're going to do a lot of the heavy leaning on Genty and Mostert. And if they have early success running the ball, then maybe those defenders suck up and try to stop the run and make Geno beat them, and then Geno can because the play-action pass is much better. So I don't think he needs to go out there and be Superman and put the cape on. I just think he needs to be efficient, not reckless, and obviously protect the ball. Special teams, you got to replicate that kick coverage from Sunday versus Tennessee. Right, and again, Dylan Laube might be out, right? You might have, your other guy, Bachman, he might be out as well, so that could be a blow to special teams. A.J. Cole may need to be a weapon, right? Pin KC deep, flip the field a few times. That's what he's good for, right? He's fantastic at that. So knowing that he's back, he's healthy. Is he still a little banged up? Sure, but, you know, he was healthy enough to play against Tennessee, so I'm sure he'll be good enough to go versus Kansas City and get back to being closer to the A.J. Cole that we all remember. More extra points as opposed to field goals. Field goals aren't going to win this game. You're going to have to get in the end zone, right? They can't get down to the red zone and then all of a sudden bog down and settle for a field goal. They can't have a 9-minute drive and all of a sudden settle for 3. Can't have an 11-minute drive and settle for 3. That's not going to get you a win. That's going to be a win for Kansas City. They'll let you do that all day. Okay, cool. You're working against yourself. You're taking the clock away, and you're only settling for 3. Okay, cool. We'll go quick strike really fast, get down the field, score a touchdown, game, set, match. So more extra points as opposed to field goals is what the Raiders need to do. Kick return, I'd like to see it, get going, but I don't know who's going to be available. Bachman, Laube, if they're available, great. They look like a good 1-2 punch against Tennessee, but are they going to be able to play? We don't know. Coaching, I always say I defer to the second half, right? And I think in this game in particular, because I think the defense is going to be so leaned on heavily by the Raiders that you really want to set the tone with the defense anyway. So they win the coin toss. I'm putting the defense on the field every single time. I really prefer to get that ball coming out of the locker room in the third quarter. And if you can get a quick 3 and out, get the ball to your offense, and maybe go on a nice long sustained drive, 7 or 8 minutes, boom, all of a sudden you're playing with the lead, right? Especially if you can get into the end zone. And you've seen it. With the Raiders playing with the lead, their defense looks a lot better, right? Because they can pin their ears back and get to the quarterback. Now, Mahomes ain't Cam Ward, right? He's a multiple-time MVP, multiple-time Super Bowl champion, so he's well advanced. He's way better than Cam Ward is, but all remains the same. You get pressure on the quarterback, good things happen. So those are the keys to victory as far as I'm concerned from the defensive point of view, offensive point of view, special teams, and coaching. That's how the Raiders come away with the victory. They're 12.5-point underdogs in this game, which is just completely disrespectful. And the last time they were 12.5-point underdogs, they went to Kansas City. That was December 25th, 2023. And we all remember what happened. Antonio Pierce earned his job, right? They won. And Antonio Pierce got the job after the season was over. And they almost won last year in KC, but they had that botched snap and fumbled the ball and fumbled away the opportunity to try to win the game as well. So they have a lot of success against Kansas City in Kansas City. They play them tight. All they got to do is keep it tight. If they keep it tight, they could potentially win the game. They could win the game. They just got to keep it close. And that's what the goal is going to be. What's on your mind? Your calls and texts will close out the show. 707-654-4693. We'll hear from you next. Before we get to that, though, I do want to tell you about a couple more sponsors we have here on the show, including Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. They deliver confidence with every ride, with more IIHS Top Safety Pick awards than anyone else. That's as of August of 2025. From footwork to breathwork, athletes, they sweat all the details. Well, Mazda, they bring that same attention to how they craft every single model. You can feel Japanese craftsmanship in every detail. Metallic accents, a great Napa leather upholstery. It feels great. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but. From smooth handling to great controls. With all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like the players, they sweat every detail. When you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. I also want to tell you about Rugiet. What do you get when you have a bald eagle standing on top of a silverback gorilla riding a T-Rex? Confidence, pure confidence. If you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to get Rugiet Go Long. That's exactly where Rugiet Go Long comes in. It's not just another ED pill. It's a total game changer for confidence. Go Long combines 2 doctor-trusted medications in one dual-action formula, so you can get in the mood, get in the moment, and go the distance, if you know what I mean. The effects, they can last up to 36 hours. That's confidence all day, all night, and you do the math, even into the next day. The process is simple. You connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online. If you're prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly right to your door. Again, very important. If you're prescribed, your treatment will ship discreetly to your door. So if you're ready to level up your confidence in the bedroom, head to Rugiet.com and use the promo code LOCKEDONNFL for 15% off your first order. That's Rugiet.com, promo code LOCKEDONNFL. Rugiet.com. Rugiet.com. Make sure to use the promo code so they know that I sent you. Here we go, Raider Nation. Segment number 3 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Your calls and texts straight off that Locked On Raider podcast voicemail line, 707-654-4693. We end the week hearing from you. Raider Rod in Modesto, he's going to start us off. He's calling to give his thoughts on what this game is or what it isn't. Here he is, Raider Rod in Modesto.
Hey, this is Raider Rod at Modesto. I was just calling in real quick. Again, I want to thank you guys, you and Ari, for having this platform. I know it's not for us to come and vent, but some of us do. I know I do on a bad day or bad game. But I was just seeing an interview with Pete Carroll. And someone needs to tell Pete Carroll that this is absolutely a rivalry game. We got Andy Reid on the other side saying it already, that this is one of the greatest rivalries ever. And I don't know what Pete Carroll's in Seattle, what his rivalry team was, but man, he needs to get it in there that we are rivals, and he better bring his A game, man. Because if we get whooped on, and I blame it on Pete Carroll for not taking. I know he's taking it serious, but it's a rivalry game, man. We got to go in their house and put it down. So, yeah, that's all I got. Thank you guys. Go Raiders.
Raider Rod out of Motown. Thanks so much for the call. Appreciate you. And look, I understand where both are coming from. It's definitely a rivalry because it's Raiders-Chiefs. But it's not a rivalry because the Raiders haven't delivered on their side of the rivalry. The Chiefs are like, 17-3 in the last 20? So I'd like to see the Raiders get back to making it a true rivalry, right, where it's back and forth, right? There's give and take. There's wins on both sides. That's actually a rivalry. That's when it means something. But from a fan's point of view, I get it. It's the Chiefs. It's always going to be a rivalry. They're always hated. It's huge. But from a point of view of the success rate as of late, and again, if you're talking about the last 2 years, okay, maybe. But the last handful of years, not so much. So I'm right there with you. I get where you're coming from. But like I said, I also understand where Pete Carroll and others are coming from. Even Lincoln Kennedy was on my Raiders radio show on Thursday and said the same thing. Yeah, it's not a rivalry because the Raiders haven't done their part. So, but like I said, I totally get where you're coming from. Thanks so much for the call. Definitely appreciate you. Up next, got a text from Pitmaster Raider. Q, Pitmaster Raider here from Idaho. First off, I want to give a shout out to one of your sponsors on the show, Gametime. I actually used Gametime last week and was able to get tickets for the Boise State game versus New Mexico and watched our Broncos demolish them. The second part, I hesitated in bringing this up out of the amount of respect I have for Big Link. But he said something on the show the other day that stuck out with me. I'm an offensive line coach for youth football, and I have been for about 12 years up to high school level. He mentioned that linemen should be seen and not heard and wasn't too keen on JPJ's style of bringing attention to himself. However, with all due respect, Professor, I think you're wrong, and let me explain why. These kids are screaming for role models in the NFL, on the line, specifically the O-line. Anyone who coaches football at the youth level knows that it's hard to get kids to want to play on the line. Everyone wants to be a receiver or running back. We've got all the skill position players that are flashy, well-known, do commercials, but we don't have anyone on the O-line in the NFL that we hear anything from that don't have role models, they need them. So when I see Jackson Dart be flashy, walking to the game with his cowboy boots, sleeveless shirt, cowboy hat on strutting, I absolutely love it, and we need more of it. I think you meant Jackson Powers Johnson instead of Jackson Dart. Of course, it needs to be backed up with the play on the field, but let these guys have their play. Give them their flowers. Appreciate the vine. Thanks for all that you do. Go Raiders. That's Pitmaster Raider from Idaho. And, yeah, he said Jackson Dart, but I think he meant Jackson Powers Johnson, JPJ. And, yeah, I mean, look, the thing is, offensive lineman, and I understand where Big Link comes from because he's played in the league for 12 years. You never want to talk about offensive lineman. That means something went wrong. That's basically his point, right? I mean, look, JPJ could be flashy, but he hasn't earned that respect yet from the coaching staff for one reason or the other. I'm not there. I'm not talking to the coaches on why they don't like JPJ or if they don't like JPJ. All I know is that the comments that Chip Kelly made when Vinny asked him about the feeling the presence of JPJ, and he went on and made some big thing about, no, I don't feel the aura, and then hung on for it for another week and brought it up again. So, obviously they want to see more from him right now and maybe hear less from him, at this stage of the game. At some point, maybe they're like, hey, go do you. When they feel like he's an all-pro guard, then maybe that's when they say it. Again, I can't answer for them. I can only answer for Link because I know where he's coming from when he says that and what his intention is. But I think it's okay to disagree. I don't have a problem with that. So thanks so much for the text. I do appreciate you. Just got time for a couple more. This call comes from Dr. DDT in Indy from Michigan. He's calling to talk about a few different subjects, including hearing from players in the locker room, games that the Raiders have lost and should win, or vice versa. Really, just how tough it is to win in the National Football League. Here's Dr. DDT.
Q, it's your boy, Dr. DDT in Indy from Michigan. Man, let me just say a couple things here. One, Raider Nation appreciates and loves the show, man. Keep doing what you're doing. We appreciate you bringing that insider, direct conversation with the players, man. It's one thing, to hear from a source as opposed to hear from the actual source. You know what I'm saying? From a source of a source. You brought up a really good point, man, on the show. I think it's really easy to be cynical, right? Especially when you are in love with a franchise, and we all love the Raiders, but they've been bad, right, for quite some time, right? And even when things go good, it's really easy to see the bad and the good, relatively, right? Get your hands on a hot plate, burn yourself, right? A second can seem like an hour. Get your hand on a hot woman, an hour can seem like a second, right? So it's really easy to fall into that mindset, right? How many times have we lost to a team like Carolina? How many times have we lost to a team like Chicago? I mean, teams that we know we should beat, and we go out and we lay an egg, right? But then we beat a team like Tennessee, and it's another scenario of a team that we should beat, right? But we don't beat them by 14, 21, and all of a sudden it's a, in quotes, a bad loss or not the loss we wanted. But hot take, guys, most NFL games, even Vegas, doesn't have it by more than one possession. It's hard to win in the NFL. That's just the way it is. It's hard to win in the NFL. It doesn't matter if you're Cleveland. It doesn't matter if you're Kansas City. Most games, even by Vegas standards, won't be more than 7 points. You know what I mean? So you gotta take that with a grain of salt, right? When you don't win like you wanted to, well, that's okay because it's the NFL. Win's a win, right? So I appreciate the levelness. I appreciate you giving the insight with the players, man, because it helps settle someone like me. Like, yeah, y'all right, man. This is a good win. Brother, how you shake it, how you twist it, it's a good win, and let's build on it, right? Raider Nation, Q, keep doing your thing, man. Just win, baby.
First of all, I love that name, Dr. DDT, in Indy by way of Michigan. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it as always. And, I think one of the best aspects of what I do is not being a mouthpiece for the team. I can never do that. But being able to talk with the players, come back and let you know what's being said or let you hear it yourself, like I like to do, like a lot of, locker room sound. I think that's huge, right? Because, again, you can judge for yourself. And, yeah, they could say whatever they want when it's on the record like it is. And that's on them. If they decide that they're going to tell me something and it's 100% inaccurate, well, okay, that's fine. But that's what they're saying. So it's not like I'm making anything up. So you can't say, well, this guy is just, trying to dance it up or put lipstick on a pig. No, this is what I was told, and you hear it. So I think that really helps, the credibility of what I'm trying to say, regardless of who says that I'm wrong or whatever the case may be. Again, I'm not trying to act like I have sources. I tell you that all the time. Just, again, I'm just a guy that's trying to, take you on the same journey that I get to go on all the time. And as far as just winning the NFL, it is super hard. That's exactly why the players get excited when they win. Even if we look at it and say, yeah, it was just Tennessee, the players don't look at it like, yeah, it was just Tennessee. They're like, man, that was a win. We need a win. Right? And then they can have something to build on for sure. So thanks so much for that call. Definitely appreciate you. Just got time for 2 more. We'll take a text from Clayton in North Carolina. Greetings, Q. Hope all is well with you and continued success for you and tomorrow and in the future. The Chiefs, it's a game. Folks, don't give us a chance to win. I'm not giving away no games, nor am I giving up on the team. Frustrated? Yeah, I'm human. But one thing I'm looking for is progress and effort with the mission statement of commitment to excellence. That means Geno, no turnovers, and special teams, no mishaps. Genty doesn't digress. He maintains or give us 100 yards. Chip Kelly calls plays to the offensive strengths, and the defense continues to contribute that they have. The ammunition is there. It's a rivalry game, so act like you don't like the Chiefs to be physical. I'll be satisfied because that's when you're giving yourself a chance to win. Take it easy, Q, and best wishes, Raiders. That's Clayton in North Carolina. And, yeah, you just want to see this team continue to evolve, build, right? Love to see them win this game. It would be huge for them going into the bye week at 3-4, really feeling good about themselves on a 2-game winning streak. It's been a while since they've been on any kind of a streak outside of losing, so you'd love to see them do that. But, yeah, you just want to make sure that these guys go out there and fight. They're competitive, and there's no moral victories, but you could tell when the team is good or when the team is like they were against Washington or when the team is like they were against Indianapolis and they just get ran out the gym. That's what you don't want to see. But thanks so much for that. Definitely appreciate you. We'll close out with a call from Filthy Phil out of Sacramento. He's calling with a slight disagreement on what I had to say about the Raiders offense, but really it's not a disagreement at all. Here's Filthy Phil.
Hey, Q, this is Filthy Phil, Sacktown 916, Raider fan. I'm just calling because I do have a disagreement with you, although I understand it, that you can't win the game the way you played against Tennessee. I agree with that, but the philosophy that you're coming out with with that is if you run the ball and keep it balanced with the pass and the run like they did against Tennessee, burning that clock, wasting, getting that precious time, that you can if you control the ball like they did, but they have to, like you said, get touchdowns. That's the only difference. But if they can do that and be successful, because they was successful, and that gave them a little pep in their step, I believe that they can do something with that. So I'm damn sure interested in seeing what they come up with against them, because like you said, we do play them tough. So, Filthy Phil, just want to say that, and I'm out.
Filthy, thanks so much for the call. And it's funny, I actually agree 100% with that breakdown. My main point was that Geno can't throw for the bare minimum. He can't be real passive like he was against Tennessee. What he's got to do is it's got to be a kind of a middle even, right? Just like I asked him, what's the fine line between, being really careful and being aggressive, right? Being efficient and aggressive. So he's got to be better because there's going to come a time in the game, right? I said that this is the Ashton Genty, Raheem Mostert type game, but there's going to come a time in the game where he's going to have to make a big-time throw, and he's going to have to make it, right? Whether it's to pick up a first down on 3rd and long, whether it's a deep shot that he's taken, whatever the case may be, maybe he's going to have to extend a play with his legs. He's going to have to do something. He's going to have to be a factor in the game as well. I just don't want him to think he has to be Superman, and he definitely doesn't have to do that. But the recipe that you're talking about, yeah, I agree with that 100%. So thanks so much for that call. Definitely appreciate you. Really good stuff. As always, really good week as far as I'm concerned, and look forward to this game coming up on Sunday. And for anyone who's in or around town, the Raiders are having a watch party at the facility. Doors open at 9:30. If you go to Raiders.com, you can actually click on the link and get tickets. I think they're only $5 or so. That's pretty cool. I'm sure there'll be plenty of alumni there, Raiderettes there, and just a good opportunity to be at the Raider facility and watch the game with a bunch of Raider Nation if you're in and around town. So maybe that's something you want to do. Either way, however you watch the game and consume it, we'll definitely be talking about it on Monday. Hopefully we're handing out game balls as the Raiders will be in their bye week regardless. And if not, it's okay too. We'll be here to talk about it one way or the other. So until then, Raider Nation, take care of yourself, take care of your family, love on your family. Most importantly, as always, just win, baby.